Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Chabad of Rechavia NACHLAOT. Thank you very much for joining us. It is a great honor, and we're very privileged that usually the first Tuesday of the secular month, we have a special lecture, usually around something related to the time of year in which we find ourselves. Every Tuesday night we have a shir over here in Chassidus. Now we're learning an amazing Chassidic discourse which discusses the essence of Chassidus, and you're welcome to join us. We actually have a few new Sfarim, and so if you want to purchase a book next week, next Tuesday, Bezrat Hashem, we'll be continuing with the shir. Actually, I'm just joking. Next Tuesday is HaOmer.
Oh, that's right. Wow.
English.
We have to do the Miron.
HaOmer, which is a great opportunity. You can do Miron Monday night, so you'll be here Tuesday for our big HaOmer parade, starting at 3 p.m., leaving from Betzalel Street from Jara Bachar, with an amazing parade to NACHLAOT, and with a great program, Bezrat Hashem.
Amazing.
And so therefore, there'll be a lot of bonfires and great things Tuesday night. So the following week, Bezrat Hashem, it's a regular shir. If there's nothing else, Bakasha, please come inside. Then we have our regular Tuesday night class. So usually, the subject of the lecture has to do with the time, a chag, something around the time. And so therefore this lecture tonight is going to be on Sefirat HaOmer, but by the Hashgacha Pratit, the Parsha of this week, Parshat Omer, and especially tonight, tomorrow, the Chitat, the portion of the Chumash, deals with the mitzvah, Sefirat HaOmer. And Sefirat HaOmer, according to the Kabbalah, according to how when we count the Omer every night, we also count the specific Sefirah, which is related to that day. One of the most important things that we need to remember when it comes to the Kabbalistic interpretation of the Sefirot is Ahavat Yisrael and peace. Harmony, being able to get along. Because as it says in Kabbalah, that before this world, this current world, which is called Olam HaTikun, there was Olam HaTohu, a world of chaos. And each Sefirah, each luminary acted on its own. And then there was a crash because the world cannot survive when we are not working together in harmony. And therefore, we need to have not only the chesed, for example, but we need the chesed shebechesed, gevura shebechesed. And this is a message that we can learn for ourselves, whether it's the parsha of the week, or it's the era, the time in which we find ourselves, which is Sefirat HaOmer, that we should strengthen our own Ahavat Yisrael. We have to realize that each and every one of us has something special to contribute to the world. But if we were here ourselves on an island, there's no purpose in that. Hashem created us in the world, Lashevet Yitzara, that the world should be inhabited, the world should be run together with people together, and every person sharing with the other the specialties that they have. That's the same idea of marriage, when each one contributes to the relationship, something that the other one doesn't. That completes the relationship. So therefore, let's please take this to our personal lives, especially in this time right now when we need to add so much Ahavat Yisrael over here in Yerushalayim, over here in Eretz Yisrael, and the world in general. But we are Orosh Olam. Yerushalayim is a light for the world. So when we will act properly, when we will act with Ahavat Yisrael, we will show the world that it is possible, then Bezrat Hashem will be successful. Right. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome and to introduce Rav Benji Elson for coming and is going to give us an amazing Bakasha, please come inside, an amazing lecture tonight on the subject of the Sefirat HaOmer and dance of the Omer, and how we can hopefully take the message of the Sefirat HaOmer into our own personal lives. Rabbi Elson, Bakasha.
Thank you. Thank you. That was basically everything. That was the whole beginning of creation. The Sefirat. Okay, thank you all for coming out here. I've had, oh, there's a nice echo right here. It's, okay, I've had quite an interesting day, which as the day was ending, I was able to look back and realize that it was very Hod Netzach, the specific combination of today. I've been having a headache and some eye things, so I finally went to the eye doctor. The thing was supposed to be, the appointment was supposed to be at 11 in the morning, and of course I was there for 2 hours before I came in, and then they dilated my eyes, and then the rest of the day I basically was totally disoriented, couldn't see. It was a very sunny day out also, so I walked out of the doctor's office after another.
I'm glad I came tonight.
You had the same thing?
No, but I'm hearing how you are. The same kind of a day, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, so I get to the bus stop, and it's too bright, and I have, you know, because my eyes are dilated, and I can't see anything, and so maybe we'll get into this combination of Sefirot in a minute. But I basically had to, you know, ask, you know, like, excuse me, what does it say over here? Which bus is coming by? You know, it was a very, Hod is very, you know, full of humility, and it was just a very humbling. And then I had to go to the shuk because there was a bunch of things that I've been waiting for a couple weeks to get to the shuk for. So I'm like finding my way through the shuk, and then Kolba said, it's actually, doesn't come off. Maybe a little bit. So, anyways, so it's been a very disorienting day. So hopefully my words will come out and I can share something meaningful. So we're at the Chabad here, and I assume that there's a lot of Chassidus learned, and the Sefirot are not a new concept. So let's just to get a feel of who we are here. Raise your hand if you've heard of the Sefirot before. Okay, great. Raise your hand if you have like a in-depth understanding of what the Sefirot are. Okay. Raise your hand if you use the Sefirot in your lives in any way.
Cut off all the way up.
Don't be shy.
Okay. Okay, great. So there's a lot of things that I could talk about. Actually, when Levi and I were talking about it, we kept it vague because that's sometimes good. And there's a lot of different directions that we can go. We could talk about today's energy. We could talk about this week of Netzach that we're in. We can talk about Sefirat HaOmer in general. So
that's the focus on the book, perhaps. That's what wants people to buy the book, hopefully.
Okay, great. Yeah, the book. I brought a bunch of books. Hopefully, everyone here. I have enough for everyone, so hopefully everyone buys one. But maybe let's start with some questions that people have. Really, I mean, something about maybe the Sefirot, something about Sefirat HaOmer, so I can get a sense of where to go. So don't be shy. And you know, I can talk about anything, but I'd rather it be focused to, you know, you all came out here tonight for reasons. So what are some of the questions that we have? Yes.
I guess it's more of a statement. I like some of the words that you use very much. And the title of the book is called The Dance of the Omer, and you describe dancing as an act of co-creation. And I thought that was a very nice way to put it. And the other thing you did, which was a new word that I never heard before, I think you must have made it up. And
Co-creation, you mean, or a different word?
A different word. And you give advice that in our lives we all have memories, and sometimes our memories aren't bad. But you use the word that if we could touch a time in our life when we had unhurtedness. And I thought that's very good advice. It's a lot of wisdom from a young person.
Thank you.
So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you for sharing all that. We start with a statement and an observation. Amazing. And you Chanoch, right? Chanoch has been reading the book, so he's a little he's got the cheat sheet. But questions. What are about Sefirat HaOmer, about the Sefirot? about God, about life, about pain, about darkness, about light.
Unheard of this.
Yes, question, yeah.
You asked if we use the Sefirot in our lives. How could we do that?
Okay, great. How can we use the Spirit in our life? Great. Good. Let's talk about that. What else should we talk about? Something coming up?
Your book.
Yeah, we can talk about my book. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Who here feels connect? Like who here counts through Sefirat Omer and uses it as a time of deep work and self-reflection? Okay, good. Okay, great, amazing. Okay, so okay, I'll just start talking and raise your hand if there's a question. And I usually like teaching in a circle so that everyone can share and we'll make this happen. There's also soup in the back. Okay, so Sefirat Omer. What are we doing here in Sefirat Omer? So the starting point is that this is the beginning of the year, right? According to the Torah, the first month of the year is Nisan, and the first holiday of the month is the first full moon, which is Pesach. And immediately after that first day, we start counting Sefirat Omer. Right? On the second day, we start counting Sefirat Omer. And so really, this is, maybe I need to rewind a little bit. Before God decided to create the world, before it arose in God's mind to create the world, right? There had to be, I'm sure everyone here has learned these ideas, right? The paradox of Tzimtzum. How is it possible to create a finite reality, a world, if there's only one God, if there's only godliness? And part of being God or godliness is that it's infinite, right? God is infinite. There's no possibility for distinction. There's no possibility for this phone to be different than this, right? Everything is just all together in an infinityness, which we can't even exactly fathom, right? And so for there to be a possibility of this physical world that we're all sitting in, and different people and different souls, even, there has to be this space where that can happen. So God, so to speak, constricted God's self through Tzimtzum, which is probably a familiar term. So and through this there were layers of infiniteness that were shed back, right? But so within that world, God created the Sefirot, right? And the Kabbalists explained that there's the 10 Sefirot, these 10 emanations, which have many manifestations in the world, and we'll explore a bunch of them tonight. And the issue was, and into the Sefirot, God created a kav, a tzinor, a pipeline of divine energy to illuminate those spheres, right? To illuminate those Sefirot, those kelim. The problem was, and this was by design, that God created the spheres to not be able to hold that light. And the reason is because if they were to hold the light, and if everything was perfectly formed exactly how God had created in the beginning, there would be no reason to actually create it, because there would be no possibility of co-creation. There would be no possibility of people making mistakes, of messing up, of free will, of figuring out who we are, of turning to each other, or turning to Hashem, right? If we were basically two robots in a relationship, then, it'd be two robots in a relationship. Probably not very interesting.
Artificial intelligence.
Right, so it's getting interesting a little bit right now, and we'll see where it goes. There's some interesting movies that have been made over the past, bunch of years. But it wouldn't be so interesting, and of course God didn't need to, it wouldn't be very exciting to create a computer program that sims. Oh, thank you.
Just in case.
Thank you very much. But now I have to hold it.
There's a shelf over there.
Okay, but I think that's really nice. Okay. Thank you very much. So God created it so that these spheres, these Sefirot, shatter, right? The Sefirat Akil. And these nitzatzot, these holy sparks, fell into all of creation. And our job as human beings, with free will, with consciousness, is to put these Sefirot, to put the world back together, to put the Sefirot back together. And that's not the topic of today, many different ways, and how do we do that? But so one of the ways the Kabbalists explain is that at the beginning of the year, as the world is rebirthing, right, and coming back to life, the birds are chirping, the flowers are blooming, everyone with allergies are grabbing a lot of tissues, and lots of color. The world is putting itself back together, and so the Kabbalists tell us, so to speak, that it's our job also as human beings to help creation put itself back together by focusing on the Sefirot in our lives every day of the year. So that's why we're doing this now, right? We're really, helping the world be put back together at this new cycle of reality being birthed. What?
And to receive Torah.
And of course, and to receive the Torah. We'll get there. So another layer that's on this, connected to what the Torah says, is another paradigm or template of what we're doing here, is that on the first day of Sefirat HaOmer, we, in the Beit HaMikdash, we brought an offering, and on Shavuos, we brought another offering. Raise your hand if you've heard of these two offerings. Okay. So on Pesach, we brought an offering. It was called the Omer. This is what the time period is called Sefirat HaOmer. Omer really is a measurement of grain, a measurement of grain. And on the second day of Pesach, we brought a waved offering of an Omer of barley flour, right? So we took the barley, it was flour, and the Kohen would take it, and it was a whole procession. They would come out from the fields. They would, it's like a really grand. In the beginning of the book, I explain it, and brought into the Beit HaMikdash. And there's this dance that happened, which is why one of the reasons why I call it Dance of the Omer. There's this dance, right? If you can imagine, there's different. If Lulav and Esrog is similar, right? Where there's different ways. Chabad has their way. The Breslovers have their ways. The hippies have their way of shaking Lulav and Esrog. But it's really, a dance. And so similarly, this waved offering and all the waved offering, they raised it and waved it into the 7 directions, right? And it was really a dance. Then we start counting these 49 days, and at the end we brought another offering, another waved offering, this time of
bread.
Good. Wheat and bread. So this time it was of wheat and it was bread. And actually this was the only communal offering that was brought in the Beis HaMikdash that was chametz. Right? So it was dafka chametz that was brought. And side note, all chametz, whenever the Torah is talking about bread, it's talking about sourdough. Who here is a sourdough lover? Right? Why is it sourdough? Because this new Wonder Loaf white bread is a very new invention when we can go to the store and get yeast, right? But before that, you had to make sourdough from a sourdough starter, which is what the Torah tells us to get rid of the saor, get rid of the sourdough starter. That's a talk maybe if I come back for Pesach, we can talk about that. So we bring a sourdough. So what's going on there, connected to our counting of Sefirat HaOmer, is that the first day we brought barley, and at the end we brought wheat. Barley is animal food, right? And it's still fed to animals still today. We use soy and corn, which maybe is similar in some ways, socially and economically. But barley is traditionally and still is animal food, and wheat you would never feed to your animals. It's too hard to make. It's too hard to process. Right? It's a much tougher grain after the process. And so that's animal food. And so the process that we're going through during this time period is first putting the world back together, second putting ourselves back together, going from our animal self to becoming more human. Going from our nefesh behemit, right? We're here. We've learned a lot of chassidus here, maybe, right? To our nefesh elokit, to really becoming more human. And so we do that by using the Sefirot, by following this really wonderful map of the Sefirot into the Sefirot HaOmer. Okay, where should we go from here? Any questions, comments, jokes? Okay, great. What are the Sefirot? Okay, good question. Any other questions that are coming up? Yes?
A lot of this sounds very abstract when I learn about the Sefirot and all the energies, like it's really cool. But when you said how do you use it every day in your life, so I can see how you'd use it for 49 days of the Omer. But is there something, what do you do every day in your life to just because that was your question, like, how can you use the Sefirot?
Right, okay, good. Great question. Any other questions? It is quite hot,
Is the air conditioning? Thank you. She opened the window. Just the window. It's cool outside.
Yeah, open more. Live up at the house.
Should I open the door?
No, it's noisy.
Okay, so do people want to hear go through all the Sefirot and what they are? Do people want to focus on the week of Netzach?
I'd like to focus on Netzach.
Okay, good. Netzach.
Yesterday was Netzach, Shemon Netzach. It was the midpoint. Maybe you might say something about that.
Yeah, right. So we're actually one day after the midpoint right now. Okay. So let's talk about the Sefirot. So there's 10 Sefirot, and the Sefer Yitzir actually very makes a point to say that there's 10, not 9, 10, not 11. There's only 10. And there's many different layers of the Sefirot. I go through in the introduction. There's like a 90-page introduction just explaining the Sefirot. So we're only going to be able to touch on a little bit. The Sefirot are basically all we know now through science. I gave a talk a little while ago and at a seminary, and one of the girls asked, why is it that we're allowed to learn about Kabbalah and Chassidus now, and they used to say we can't learn it. So I said, I don't know exactly, but what I do know is that we, because of science and because of the world that we live in, we actually are able to understand these ideas much easier. Right? So we have electricity. The kavim, the tzinurot that I was just talking about before, that God put into the tzimtzum and the Sefirot, right? You would have to at least be 40, 50 years old to even be able to fathom that concept 200, 300 years ago. But now our walls are full of them, right? We have electricity. Not only that, now we even have Wi-Fi, right? We live in a world where these ideas have tangible expression through the technology and society and things. Now we got to learn how to use them properly, right? So one of the things that we know through science is that everything is just energy, right? And everything really is vibration, right? Matter, Einstein, E equals mc squared. All matter is just energy. So the Sefirot really are energy, and they manifest in different ways. So there's different levels and layers that they manifest in. They manifest as different colors. They manifest as, and all these different vibrations, right, are just different layers of or ways that they manifest. So color, sound, directions connected to the magnetic field on Earth, emotions within us, stances, traits, ways of being, connected to the elements, right? All sorts of things. So that's why I'm finding it a little bit hard to like clear questions, there's just so much to talk about. Where should we go? But let's keep it simple and explain what the Sefirot are. So they're divided into two sets, and if we're wondering where are we going to get the questions of what do we do with them, we're going to get to that soon. But we first have to explain what they are. Right? So there's two divisions. There's I had a white. Is there a piece of paper or a whiteboard or anything? No. Screen. Can you pull up a chart of the Sefirot up there? That'd be amazing. Okay.
I have a chart here.
Yeah, but it's not big enough for people to see. So probably everyone here is slightly familiar with the chart, with the map, right? So the top three are connected, so to speak, to they're more about consciousness, about thought, divine thought, our own thought. They're called mochin, which is mind, right? So the first three are Keter, Chachma, and Bina. Keter is actually even before thought, and it's connected to will, right? So it's before a thought even enters into our mind. Why is it that certain thoughts enter into my mind, certain thoughts enter into your mind, right? Why? There's a difference there, right? We're all tapped into the same motherboard, right? We all share the same unified source of high. So why is it that different thoughts come into this? So that comes through Keter, which is connected to will. It's the subconscious point of will that's allowing everything to come through. And if we can imagine kind of a funnel into our head, that might.
So it's like the entry point, right?
It's the entry point. There's obviously many layers of ways of explaining it, but yeah, the will, and that will opens up an opening for Chachma to land. And Chachma is the initial spark of an idea. And it's translated as wisdom, right? But really it's a spark of an idea that hasn't been formulated yet. That it's almost unconscious, right? It's kind of like this inspiration or intuition that I might have, but I can't grasp it yet. That's Chachma. Across from that is Bina, and that is usually translated.
Can you see?
Thank you.
Everyone see?
Okay, great. Right, so this is Keter up here that we were talking about. This is Chachma over here. This side is more masculine. This side is more feminine. This is a combination of both, but really everything is within it. Everything and everything is combined. And we're not talking about male or female. We're talking about energies or different
qualities.
Thank you. That's a good word. Quality. Okay. So Chachma is the initial spark of an idea, and that's connected in the body. All of these are connected with the body also. That is the right hemisphere. Right, and if we know from science, the right hemisphere is also connected to more artistic expression. It's less linear thinking. It's more creative thinking, right? Which is kind of this space of not everything is really thought out yet. It's still a little bit open, right? Then we get to Bina, and Bina is translated as understanding, and it's the ability to start putting the pieces together. It's the ability to start seeing how things are connected. The Kabbalists explain that it's the ability of lotzi davar mitoch davar, to be able to take something out of something, to really start stringing things together, to start creating a picture, to create an understanding. Then we get to Dat. I'm gonna, if you see here, there's 11 circles. When Keter is included, Dat isn't. When Dat is included, Keter isn't. That's beyond right now, so we're not going to get into that. But if we can talk about that at another point, or you can ask the rabbis here at the Chabad. I'm sure they have lots to talk about that. Dat, if we're talking about these three, which are the mochin, the intellect, the consciousness, is the place where this knowledge becomes, this understanding becomes knowledge, right? It's when an idea becomes integrated into my being. I don't need to keep figuring it out anymore. It's kind of like if I was to wake you up in the middle of the night and ask you what's 1 + 1, you wouldn't, maybe you'd have to like wipe your eyes first. But you wouldn't have to try to figure it out, right? You wouldn't have to understand it. It's already integrated knowledge. If I would ask you, who is your mother and who is your father or your children, it's an integrated knowledge. It's not some logic that you need to try to figure out. So that's that. Then we get to the midot, they're called, which are the character traits or the personality traits. Often they're called the emotions. They're not really emotions. There's layers of the emotions. Sometimes they're called behaviors. They're also not really behaviors. There's layers of behavior there. Character traits is, none of these words are really any good. Midot is literally means measurement, and it's kind of the measurable qualities, right? It's hard to measure all these, but it's easier to say that's that, right? So they're a little bit more manifest, a little bit more tangible, but of course they're still not. Okay, so chesed. So now we're moving from the head into the body, and if you can imagine a body over here, that might be helpful. If we had time, we'd pull up another picture, but we're not going to do that. Yeah, but this is good. Another interesting thing over here, and we actually have in the back, Rechavia, who I just met today, is an amazing artist that creates wood laser cuttings, Kabbalistic wood laser. I think she has some with her, so maybe we'll call you up in a few minutes. All of these are connected to the letters of the alphabet, the 24 letters, and it's just keeping it back of your head. It's beyond maybe Rachel can explain it. So Chesed is connected to the right hand, and it is the energy really of flow, of generosity, of giving, right? That's going across to Gevura. The opposite of that, or the counter of that, is restraint. It's usually translated as power, but really strength and power comes when we have appropriate boundaries, right? When we don't give all of our energy away. So there's, on one hand, there's the flow and generosity and just giving and stepping into flow and being unbounded and just going wherever we want. On the other hand, in Gevura, which is the left hand, it's constraining that. It's putting restrictions on ourselves and boundaries, really healthy boundaries, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about healthy boundaries. Then we get to Tiferet, which is in the middle, and it's a combination of both of these two. And the energy really is one of balance. It's usually translated as beauty, harmony. It's really the ability to hold contradiction, to hold the parts of ourselves, to hold, to kind of know when to use these two things at the appropriate time. It's connected to the torso. It's also, or the heart. It's connected to being present. If any therapists here? Okay. In DVT language, I don't know if anyone's connected, but this is emotive mind, logical mind, and wise mind. It's really the ability to be wise, right? And wisdom comes through being present and through being able to hold the complexities of life. That's really, and if you see, Tiferet is really connected to everything, and it's connected to the torso. Okay, then we go to Netzach. Netzach is, we're moving down in the body to the leg, and also in thinking about, right, these are all emanations of Hashem, also of God coming into the world. So it's the right leg of Hashem also. This is the left leg of Hashem, and our left leg. We'll get into it in a second what that means. But Netzach is the energy of, and this is where we are this week. All right. If everyone's what?
Netzach this week.
Right. Netzach is this week, and it's really the ability to take this flow after it's gone through a series of process and being able to. It's the much more mature energy of Chesed, to be able to direct it in a way that we are victorious, that we are accomplishing things in the world, right? It's usually translated as victory, but within that there's many layers, and if you can hear, as we're going down, it gets more and more complex. I'm talking about each one a little bit more, but maybe we'll have to go back up and talk about the other ones more also, but we'll see if we do that. There's really a bunch of different layers in there. On the most basic or manifest level, it is going out and doing things, action, dominance even, being victorious, doing things in the world. On a slightly more internal level, it is the ability to have stamina and endurance, right? Because we can't achieve anything, we can't be victorious unless we have that stamina. Underneath that, it's even the clarification of our motivations behind where we're trying to get to, right? Because we can't have endurance or stamina unless we are clear about why we're doing what we're doing. And so there's also a clarification of our drives in there. Underneath that, there's the confidence and courage to even take a step, right? And within that, there's the energy of being able to get back up when we fall, right? And more than that, once we've fallen, to take the courage again to take the next step, right? And underneath all of that, putting all that together is what Netzach is really all about, which is mastery, which is being able to do something in a masterful way, and through all of that, being able to accomplish something in the world, right? And with in Hashem, this is basically the energy of that this physical world that we see is just beautifully and masterfully put together, right? It's very clear that there is a plan behind it, right? That everything is clear, right? That's balanced by Hod, which now we'll go work backwards a little bit. Hod, which is that plan, that masterful plan that we see in the world, that masterful plan that we see in the world is actually really beautiful, right? It could be, the world could have been created in such a way that everything is there's a clear plan, but it's kind of like a lot going on here. Everyone focused?
Not at all.
Okay, where do we lose everybody? There's soup in the back.
Very good smell.
Okay, everyone take a deep breath. Feel the weight of your body. Next building that you build, you have to put the speaker in the back of the room.
There you go.
Not by the door. Everyone, they have a fundraiser, give them lots of money. I don't know if you actually do, but okay, we're back. Okay, great. Okay, so just to rewind a few sentences, Netzach is that the world is there's a clear plan, right? That there's a masterful architect behind everything. Hod is that plan is beautiful. It's not just functional, right? It's not just that we live in a Soviet project, but that it's actually beautiful, and in that space there's room for us, and so when we move into Hod, there's a softening. If in Netzach we are really just like really focused on getting our goal done. Hod is the ability to step back, to let somebody else in, to see it's translated as splendor, which I don't really know what that means, It's beauty. It's really being able to kind of it's also if Netzach is we got to get to our destination, and it doesn't matter where we go or what road we take. Hod is like, oh no, let's actually maybe slow down. Let's take the scenic route. Let's stop over here at this overlook, right? Which is also really important for the vacation is not just getting to the hotel. The vacation is every step of the way, right? It's the idea that the journey is the destination, not just the destination, and that allows us to open up to experiencing beauty. In Netzach, it's very hard. We're just like really focused on getting what we need to get done. In Hod, we are making sure that there's space in there for beauty and for the experience of another. Because that's where beauty happens, right? There needs to be a subject and an object. Then we get to Yesod. In Yesod, as you see, it's all going into Yesod, and Yesod is in the body. It's connected to the reproductive organ, and it's the place where we can take all this and be in active co-creative participation with Hashem, with reality, with others. It's okay. With others, it's the ability to figure out our own identity. It's the ability because it's also connected to context. If all of these Sefirot are colors, then Yesod is the paintbrush, and Malchut is the canvas. We'll get to Malchut in a second. Yesod is the paintbrush that really allows all this to come into creation and our ability to create. Going back, right, Tiferet is over here. If Tiferet is the ability to hold the contradictions in our lives, then Yesod, as its more mature form, is not just the ability to hold it, but the ability to do something with that, right? And that's really a child, right? There's two opposites. The co-creation of reality is being able to know how to put opposites and contradictions and paradoxes together to create a new reality, right? We don't want our kids to be the same as us. We don't want our kids to live in the same world as we did, right? We want something new and better. Thank you. And so that's all connected to Yesod. And Malchut there's nothing there. Malchut has nothing of its own. It's the canvas. It's the playing field. It's what allows everything else to come into being, and because of that, it allows everything to find its place. The two ways that the Kabbalists explain what Malchut is that in Melech B'lo Am, there's no sovereign without a kingdom, and what that means is that the real identity or reality of the ruler is only because there's a people there, right? And actually more than that all the only power that the ruler has is the people. In the body, Malchut is connected to the mouth. Very interestingly, there's some other associations also that are given. The womb is one of them. The reason being that the king, the only power that the king has at all is proclamations, is words, right? The army, like it's just those words. The army is the power of everybody else. So that's one thing, and the other one is that it has nothing of its own, or it has no garments of its own, right? Which is also kind of connected to this idea that a king and queen, that the garments that they wear, the royalty within their garments, is just given from the kingdom. So it's stepping into that state of knowing that we are. Well, maybe I won't go there yet. So that was the introduction. It's like, what do we do with this all? Well, you can read my book. There's lots of things in there. We do have some more time to dive a bit more
Maybe prepare us for tomorrow.
I know, but we could, but that would take. We could talk about the energy tomorrow.
This is specifically, what does that mean in our lives? After understanding the general concept of the Sefirot, so what do we do with all of this information? How can we make it practical? And we can take, for example, the Sefirah of tomorrow. Tomorrow is Malchut Shebenetzach. So when we're going to say, the Sefirat HaOmer, and we're going to think about this attribute, the Sefirah, what do we basically do with it?
Right. So there's lots and lots of different layers. That was, I tried to add a bunch of different layers in there as I was going. There's so many different layers in there. What we do each day in Sefirot HaOmer is taking. We're told, right? We don't even have to make it up. We just follow the template. And we focus on the combination of that energy, which is kind of where we're at. So we're in the week of Netzach, which and maybe that's why I took a few more minutes to explain that in a little more depth. So this week and tomorrow and the next day, what we can do is really focus on those different layers that I was mentioning in there, right? So the first is to really focus on what are some of our goals, right? First of all, what are our goals? Second of all, figuring out what are some of those goals that we've had for a while that we would like to be victorious in, and maybe let's all right now either take out your phones or your pads and let's make this really practical and think for a second, what is a goal that maybe I've wanted to accomplish in my life that I've been putting off?
Winning the lottery.
Okay. But it's something that's in our power. Right? And Netzach is really about, maybe Hod is the lottery, right? But Netzach is so think that really, you didn't just come here to listen to a nice talk, you came here to make changes, right? So really take a moment to think. I don't even know if it's such a nice talk, but okay, and raise your hand when you have that thing. Okay, we got one person. 2 people. Okay. We got that thing? We have okay. Now, I want you to think now, what is the reason that that's your goal? Right? And so sometimes this was we're kind of going through the whole week today, or in the next 5 minutes. But so the way to do this really is focusing on one of these aspects throughout the week. The book is very in depth about that. But what we first want to clarify, one of the reasons why we don't go towards our goal is because we're actually not clear why it's our goal, right? And when we're not clear why it's our goal, then we don't even know what the first step to take is. So now, if you have that goal in mind, really think, why is this my goal? And really find the motivation that's underneath there. And it could be a need, a universal need that we all have, that we're trying to accomplish with that, whether it's having more creativity in our life, more love in our life, more connection, more appreciation. So think about, why is this important to me? Why am I trying to get this accomplished in my life? Raise your hand if you've gotten that. Raise your hand if you're having trouble with that. Raise your hand if you're not doing it. People in the back? Okay. Now, another reason, so sometimes we're clear about where we're trying to get to. Sometimes we're clear about why we're trying to get there, but sometimes we're not clear about what's getting in the way of that. Right? The stumbling blocks or the obstacles in the way. So, one of the big obstacles, well, first, the reason, the main obstacle is fear. Right? And we gotta get clarity on what aspect of fear is it. Is it fear of failure? Is it fear of success? Is it fear of responsibility? Is it fear of what other people are going to say, which is maybe connected to fear of failure? So think about maybe what obstacle and maybe what fear and what specific fear is there that's getting in the way.
There's no fear.
No fear. Okay. And if it's not fear, then it might be that you actually tried this before and fallen and failed at it, and therefore you just don't believe it's actually possible, right? So this is going back to really having the courage to get back up. So think about those two things.
No, it's not that either.
Okay.
There's other material things that get in the way, not the spiritual or emotional or mental. Or sometimes it's just the materialistic things that are stopgaps for you.
Right. Okay. Good. So that's why we want to right. So sometimes it's not possible, right? The material things, the money,
Or you have to go around a different way or something.
Right. Right. So that's why it's really important to really get back to the motivation and the need that's there, because sometimes we're trying to get to the wrong goal. Right, that's going back to the beginning. I'm not saying that any of this applies to you per se right now in this situation, because I don't know what it is. But often, right, there's the need, and then there's the solution on how to get the need. And so often and then because of what we've been told in our lives, or because of what we've told ourselves, or because of what we've been told to do or how to go about doing it, we're actually trying to get this need met in the wrong way. Right? Our goal actually should be something different. Right? So let's say it's and this is really the source of all arguments in relationships. Right? Usually the need is not different. We all need the same degree of love, same degree of appreciation, maybe, not the exact same degree. There's lots of things involved. But we need love, we need appreciation, we need belonging, we need partnership, right? We know those things. But then the disagreements are at the point of the solution on how to get those things met. Right? So if we go back in Kabbalah, this is called Mantikin Dinan B'Shorsha. Right? The disagreements, if we sweeten it at its root, at its source, at the root need, a lot of that stuff falls away. So sometimes we have, going back to the question, we have a need, and it's really the important thing is the need, but we're trying to get it accomplished in a way that it's just not possible for us because of money, because of lots of different things. So let's go back to the exercise. Maybe that helped clarify things. So where were we? We were at the goal. Maybe now the goal has changed. Goal, clarification of the motivations, connect to the need that's underneath it, the obstacles that are there, and the fears that are there. Okay, and the courage to get back up and try again. Okay, so now the question is, have you tried this before and have you failed? And that could mean whatever that means. What does it mean to fail in that thing? Have you failed and therefore you're afraid of failing again, or you just aren't getting back up, so ask yourself that.
What about laziness to do it? that could be.
Then you're probably not clear about you're probably not clear about the need, or it's just something not like we're not lazy about things that we really need, right? Sometimes we are, but we don't usually really need it then. You know, when we're starving, when we're like, you know, we can push off eating for a while, but once we're starving, we're gonna go find some food, right? But it's a good question. So, have you failed in this, and you haven't gone back up? Another question is, and maybe now we'll do a little meditation connected to the week of Netzach and open up for some questions. So if you've been putting off and being someone like me who you know, when I sit in crowds and I'm told to do something, I don't do it. So if you're one of those people, now's the time. Maybe you feel like you don't have the resource that you need to get this done. So I want you to think, and maybe close your eyes, and we're going to do a meditation in a second. And think about, you know, and maybe really visualize this situation, right? This goal, this situation, the obstacles that are in your way, and think about the resource. Maybe it's one of the Sefirot, and this is also a way of what do we do with the Sefirot? Maybe it's a resource, a character trait that you might need. That if you had this, then I would be able to get this done, right? So maybe it's more confidence, maybe it's more love, maybe it's to get clarity on what that is. Sounds right. Raise your hand when you had that. Okay, great. Okay, so everyone close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Really, close your eyes, and I'm not that interesting looking, so you can just do whatever you want with your eyes closed. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Feel the weight of your body on the chair, your feet on the ground. Become more aware of the sounds in the room. And I want you to allow your mind to go backwards. Just notice the sounds as they come in and out. Keep your eyes closed. You can do this. They're just sounds. They're just vibrations. I want you to allow your mind to go back in time to a memory, either recent or very distant, at the time where you've had this resource, whatever you've needed for this situation, that you had it and you were filled with it. Maybe you were acting from it. Find an image from a memory. Notice how your facial expressions were in that moment. Your body posture. The emotions that you were feeling when you were filled with this resource. Maybe how you were walking, how you were talking. And bring that resource right now into this present moment and feel yourself and your body filling it up. Maybe it comes with a certain color even. Imagine yourself filled with that color, and as your body is filling with that color, it's also filling with this resource that you are needing. Maybe notice how your facial expression right now has changed. The energy in your body has changed. Your body posture. Really feel this in your body right now. And now I invite you to bring up this goal or this situation with all of its challenges. Maybe choose one screenshot of that whole situation or goal. And imagine yourself walking into that filled with this resource. You can picture your body with this color. Filled with this resource, accomplishing this goal. Or at least interacting with this goal. And just notice what happens. And you can even imagine yourself really succeeding in carrying out that goal, really succeeding in making that happen, being victorious. Take a few last seconds visualizing that happening. Feel what it's like to succeed in that in your body in this moment. Take 3 deep breaths at your own pace, at your own time. Open your awareness to the sounds around the room again. Feel your feet on the ground. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come back. Okay, so that was hopefully helpful, enjoyable, and that's really connected to Netzach. It's actually the teaching from today in the book. This was the meditation for this day. And part of Netzach is an aspect of Netzach is really it's abundance. Right, it's really just energy. You know, having the only way that we can really succeed in our goals is if we're showing up to life from a place of abundance. A lot more to talk about that. But and so part of this week of Netzach is realizing and reminding ourselves that just like in this small meditation, this small exercise, right? That thing that you didn't have in this moment, well, you have it somewhere, right? We're so abundant. We're abundantly full, and we have all the Sefirot in ourselves also. And you can do this meditation with the Sefirot, and that's actually what we're doing in Sefirot HaOmer, right? We're actually redrawing the Sefirot and the combinations into our lives that we for sure have experienced. We've had moments. We've experienced everything, right? It's just that usually we don't have access to it, but it's very easy to gain access to it. Sometimes you need a good therapist. I'll give you my number later. You need a good book. My book's over there. But you know, so really just opening ourselves up to recalling those things that we've experienced in the past. So that's one way of working with the Sefirot. There's many different ways and things to do. And this was just the tip of the iceberg of all these things. And I hope that was beneficial. And we have time for some questions?
Yeah, a few more questions if anyone has. Now's a good time.
I think we have 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah.
Or we have negative 5 minutes. Okay, thank you for coming. Yes.
Hi. I'd just like to comment on Yisod Sefirat, which is, or Sefirat Yisod depending on which way you look at it, is the original. I would have said that HaOmer is Yisod Sefirat anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Great question. I'm not. We don't have time to actually delve into that.
It's a big one.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take 3 questions in a row, and then we'll see what opens up, and then yeah.
Well, I don't, this not for you, it's for the room, but you said that there was like a laser wood carvings of.
Oh yeah.
I was just curious about that.
Yeah. Rachel's in the back there. She's actually, yeah. And mid.
Yeah, right after the lecture, we'd love you to come and show that to everyone here.
That's great. Okay. Another question?
Yeah, very basic one. The left side is like the feminine side. So like, how come the Bora is on the left and the Chesed is on the right?
Yeah, that's not basic at all. Because right, so this is a very common question, right? Well, aren't women more, flowy and men? So, basic answer is, well, if you had a world of men, nothing would get done. And we see that in the houses, who's actually running the house, and when the wife leaves for a week, that man has absolutely knows what I can't even say it. But there's also on a biological level, also male and female, the woman is able to take the seed and really build an entire life, which is chesed and gevura, chachma and bina, all these things. So it's not a male-female, it's masculine and feminine, and there's a lot more to be said about that. Yes.
I have this kind of other overlay of Sefirat Omer with the morning. Is there like do they relate somehow, the Sefirot?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a great question. The counting of the Sefirot, I think there's a lot to say about it. They're connected. There's some people that do the morning stuff on the second half, right? And I think there's the whole point of mourning is really focusing to really be focused on certain things. There's a lot to say. I'm feeling rushed in explaining it, and I feel like we need to leave. So there's a lot to say there. Okay, thank you so much. Please buy some books. There's 460 pages of teachings and meditations. The book is in stores is usually 120. I'm selling it right here for 100 shekel. And thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much, Rav Elson. And it's a great topic. And I'm sure you'll find it more in detail here in the book or right over here. And as Rav Elson just said, it goes usually for 120. Special sale here at Chabad Rechavia for 100. And you can also enjoy some hot soup. Winter in Yerushalayim is not over yet, as we noticed. And there's also a suggested donation of 15 shekels for the next lecture. And you're all welcome also to leave your details, emails, names, for us to let you know about future lectures. Thank you very, very much, and have a great evening, everyone. Thank you, Benji.